So in the previous video, I mentioned the, not necessarily issue, but the replication problem we're facing in terms of dropping items, or not dropping items, but moving them closer and farther. So if I move this farther away on the server, it moves farther away and closer. But if I do the same thing on the client, as you can see, it's not being replicated. So if I drop it way out here and I walk forwards on the client, we can see there's a collision here. So we have to replicate this, as well as it'll look nicer because the movement itself is being replicated as well. So what we're going to do is create a server RPC to handle this. So here we have our U functions, blah, blah, blah. We can go down and we can create another one. So it's going to be a U function, server, reliable, with validation. Don't know why I did curly braces. And honestly, we really don't need these to be reliable because these are not kind of triggering, so to speak. If they're a tiny bit off, that's okay. So instead of doing reliable, we can do unreliable. We can do void server underscore. Let's do move held item, and we're going to pass in the held item distance. So float new item distance, like so. Create the implementations. For the validate, we're just going to return true since I can't think of any way to really validate or invalidate this. And then move these on top of one another like so. Then because they got placed way up top, let's put them right below our move item functions. So from here, we're going to pass in the new item distance. So we want to do a check on the server. So if held item, just like before. We then do the exact same thing. So we're going to run this code here. Change held item distance to new item distance. So that should kind of position it pretty close, at least to where the server thinks the other stuff is. So, well, for the time being, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be a little bit of latency. So hopefully this should kind of help it adjust itself. So we should have a replicated control rotation or camera location. So that should take care of that. And the socket is going to be dependent on the mesh. And since we are actually seeing the, the skeleton animate because we're a listen server, that should be fine. So now from here, when we move the item, what I want to do is just simply call server underscore move item and pass in held item distance. Again, because held item distance is not replicated because it has no reason to be. So same thing again on the move item closer. We do the same thing and let's rerun it. Okay, let's give it a try. Pick the item up, move it farther. As you can see, it is now being replicated. Don't you just love that little back and front flip bug? Very fun. So we'll move it farther. Let's move it somewhere up here. Let's try to get a position on the server so we can see just how precise it is. Try to put it. I'll put it right there. Let's see where the server and client thinks it is. Server thinks it's right there. Client thinks it's right there. So it's not 100%, but it is very close. So it's close enough to where, honestly, I can't imagine it really hurting anything. And if there is an issue, what we can do is when we actually go to drop it, we can sync up the locations. So that is good to go. I do want to make bigger adjustments. So instead of doing it by, 3, let's bump this up to 5. So we'll have bigger, movements. And we can also, if we want to, we can interpolate this. So that way when we move it, instead of it being these little short jumps, we can make it a smooth transition. So I'm going to create a new function, void interpolate held item, and just pass in an f vector, new location. What we're going to do is just call it. So we're going to, same time when we call the server, what we do is we pass in we call interpolate held item and we pass in the new location. So new location. Do the same thing in the move item farther. And what we want to do is we want to try to loop through this. So until there is a kind of like a distance between, or not a distance between, what do you call it? a kind of like a tolerance. So once the item is within X distance of the new kind of place, so to speak, then we know we're good to go. So instead of actually calling this, what we want to do instead is actually set up a timer, which is going to indicate that we have to save our new location. So what we can do is have just a f vector be stored, new item location. And this can be useful if we ever decide to try to replicate the location as well. So what I'm going to do, just remove that call and change new location to new item location, like so. And on the server, we can actually just go ahead and do the same thing. So once we have that, we no longer need to pass in the vector to our interpolate held item. Instead, we can just fire up a timer. So f timer handle, do t interp item, I guess is an okay name. Then we start up a timer. So t interp item, or sorry, get world timer manager dot set timer, pass in our interp item, this, then we want the function, which is a escape room YouTube character, interpolate held item. Let me pass in, let's see, what is the other parameters? Is the rate, so we're going to do 0.1 for the rate, and then we want it to loop, so we're going to pass in true, and this should fire it off. So what we want to do is also check if this exists, or sorry, is kind of running. So t interp item dot, well, actually, what we can do is actually just force stop it just in case. So get world timer manager dot clear timer, and then the timer handle, which is our t interp item. And now we just want to copy that, move it up to the move item closer, so that way it starts the exact same thing. And then we should have our timer running here. So we just need a way to clear the timer as well when it gets, within difference. So what we have is the U Gizmet math library. We search for interp. We can go down, vinterp, and that's for vectors. So we're going to do vinterp2, so we can interpolate with vectors, and it takes in the current location of the item. So that can be held item, get actor location, and then the target, which is the new item location. We have the delta time, which is, what is it? Get world, get delta seconds, and then the interpolation speed, which for us, let's just do 5. So this will return the f vector with the new location. So we're going to do f vector, new location, and that new location is going to be the held item, that actor location, new location, and then obviously want to do a check. So if held item is valid, we do that. So that's great. We're going to be interpolating to the new location. However, it's going to continue to run even after the location is, there. How can we solve that? Well, this is used with tolerance. So f vector, what is it? Is it distance? I think there's something, so new location, no. U Gizmet math library, vector distance. There was something that would allow you to pass in or get a tolerance. Anyhow, we're just going to go ahead and get distance. So if new location is, well, let's do new location dot distance. Oh wait, no, that takes in 2. I'm being dumb. My bad. So f vector distance, the takes in the current, or the first one, so new location, and then the current location, which is held item, get actor location. So if we want to check if this distance that it is returning is less than, let's do, I don't know, 1 centimeter. So if that's the case, UV log. Let's do a check. Finished interpolation. So now we can just clear the timer. So copy this guy up here and restart the editor so we can see what happens. So this should stop the timer. Well, hopefully. Okay. Now I'm not expecting this is not going to interpolate on the server. So we press it. So it finishes interpolation after each time. My guess is because it's still jumpy, we're taking too big of jumps. So where we set it up for 5 for the interpolation speed, let's try 1. And it's kind of the same deal. Okay, let's drop that down to 0.1 and just see what happens there. And I think I just realized what I'm doing. So we're calling set actor location still. We're not interpolating. So let's comment out the set actor location and then check it. So that was my own kind of stupidity there. Okay. Oops. Okay, so press F. I can't even tell fully, so I'm going to try restarting the editor just to make sure. We comment out. Okay, so the issue is going to be because of the server now setting the actor's location. So what we want to do here is clear it. So we're going to uncomment out the set actor location just so we want to confirm that the interpolation is actually working before we really do anything else. So we don't want anything else setting the location. So we have the problem of each scroll wheel is, I can't even tell if it's actually moving it or not. But if it is, it's moving insanely slowly. So we're having the problem of it finishing kind of early. So we're going to do 0.1 for the distance that it has to get within. And it is still finishing the interpolation. So we're obviously having some kind of issue here in just the way we are kind of getting the distance. So my question, because we are setting it, I think I'm seeing what's going on. Let me stop it and think real quick. Didn't need to do much thinking, but we're getting the distance between the new location and the current actor's location. Well, we are setting the current actor's location to the new location right before, so no matter what, this is always going to be true immediately. So that lies our problem. So what we want to do is we want to check the actor's location. So new location is going to be the same thing as get actor location. We want to compare that to the new item location. So because that's what we are interpolating to. So let's go ahead and give that a try. And this should hopefully, set it up so where we can see it actually, well, move and work. So let's give this another try. Okay, I moved it in. And my guess is it's moving so slowly, we just flat out cannot tell. So now we should be able to alter the rate. So we're going to go back to 5. And see if we can see it move. Okay, you can kind of see it moving in. Looks like it's still moving, so it's just going very slowly. So as well as we can kind of see it stuttering. So we're going to increase the rate at which the timer runs, and that would smooth that out. Let's move it in. Do 5. It's making its way inward. You can see it's moving a lot smoother. Now for the distance check, we're going to revert that back to just 1 centimeter. And we can increase the interpolation speed to 8. And let's just go crazy fast for the timer there, just so hopefully it's smooth. Because it should be just like a short little burst, so performance-wise, I'm not too concerned. And we're still having issues with the jitter. So I'm almost questioning if hot or live coding is having some issues with the timer and changing settings. Kind of doubt it, but that may be the case as to why it's doing what it is. Does it look like it was about the same speed? No, we still have the jitter. Let's move it out. Move it out. You can see each time I move it out, it finishes the interpolation. So for some reason, when I move it closer is when it's having the problem. As you can see, it's kind of like it doesn't know what to do. So it's still moving it, and it's just kind of a little bit messed up. So moving it away, if it works, that's just fine. You can see when I move it away, it's smooth. When I move it one click in, it just starts making its way around, and there's some big problems. So that's going to have to be fixed. So we at least have the interpolation set up for moving away. That's at least something. So for the time being, I'm going to uncomment out the set actor location, as well as I'm going to comment out where we set the timer for the moving item closer, and I'm going to give a little note here. So let's do move farther works, closer fails. So that way we have a kind of an idea on what to do there. So that's going to be it for this video. We have moving farther and moving closer, as well as basic interpolation kind of set up. So obviously we're going to have to go through and fix it. But for the time being, we have a good start. We have a good base going. And that's really all we're doing in these kind of initial videos, is creating everything we need feature-wise for the base. So not sure what we're going to do in the next video, but I'll see you then. Anyhow, if you like what I'm doing and you want to support me, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description below. I have a Team Deathmatch series just for patrons where we create Team Deathmatch with Unreal Engine with C++, as well as a couple other features in that series like weapon customization, custom spawning, and you also get early access to my videos such as this one. So if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to join my Discord down below as well, and I'll help you out. So take care.